Putin's throne has become ground zero in a clan war. Russian investigative journalist Roman Anin co-founded the alternative news organization iStories in 2020. In addition to his investigation into the millions of leaked documents known as the Panama Papers, he has taught journalism at a Moscow university and collaborated with international networks such as the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ, and the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, OCCRP. He has also written extensively about the FSB's top brass in Russia. In 2021, he was branded a foreign agent by Russian authorities. Presently he is living in a foreign country. In a recent interview with RFE/RL's Georgian service, Anin discussed the dangers to Putin posed by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the rise to power of Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin and National Guard head Viktor Zolotov, and the possibility of a new time of troubles in the event that Russia is defeated in Ukraine. RFE/RL. Many Western analysts are not convinced that Putin could be deposed from within Russia or the Kremlin. If your January iStories article's title, "A Clan War for Putin's Throne Has Begun," is any indication, you don't share that skepticism. I don't see why not. Roman Anin. I think the clan war for his throne has started. That doesn't necessarily mean they'll try to oust him. Putin is no spring chicken at 70 or so. This means that those in his inner circle are preparing for his death or resignation. After his death, they realize they need to prepare for a variety of possible outcomes. His inner circle is dysfunctional because its members have been at each other's throats for decades over who gets to spend time with the president, who gets to weigh in on policy decisions, and who gets to hold the reins of power. Occasionally, these conflicts were not cold, but rather fought. There is no shortage of illustrations. For instance, consider Viktor Zolotov, director of the National Guard, Rosgvardia, and a member of the Security Council, who was very close to Putin, or rather was very close to Putin. He used to be Putin's bodyguard and the two of them spend a lot of time together. Zolotov and director of the Federal Security Service, FSB, Alexander Bortnikov are mortal enemies who are always at each other's throats. That makes it tough for them to find common ground on a potential successor. The realization that they can't afford to waste time makes me think that one of them, or a coalition of them, will begin acting even before Putin's death or before he loses power. It's so easy that even a child could do it. They hope to preserve not only their own lives but also those of their loved ones. They know that once Russia loses the war, which they all expect to happen because nobody still has faith in a Russian victory, this throne struggle will officially begin. And the victor will have nothing left. No prestige, no resources. Imagine that the next president of Russia comes from the family of Nikolai Patrushev, the current head of Russia's National Security Council. This means that those who have fought against him for so long will lose everything they've worked for, possibly including their lives, and they know it. And I think that's what's needed for a war to actually start. They are in for a life or death struggle. The other issue is that they can't get off the boat for various reasons, sanctions, criminal activity, etc. They're unable to leave the country. It's not as simple as saying, okay, let's betray Putin and go somewhere. It's hopeless for them now. Also, picture two snakes who absolutely despise each other being trapped in a bottle together. That had actually been part of his strategy prior to the war. He enjoys playing the role of arbiter in those heated disputes within the inner circle. The public feuds between Putin's former bodyguard and Wagner Group founder Yevgeny Prigozhin and Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and between Prigozhin and Chechen Republic head Ramzan Kadyrov clearly do not strengthen Putin's power today. In fact, they are weakening it by switching things around. Putin's problem is that he is a politician who is paralyzed by indecision and would rather do nothing than risk making a bad choice. However, these choices are distinct from one another. They thought they could easily conquer Ukraine in just 3 days, which is why he made this decision. Therefore, he was taking no real chance. Making a decision within his family is different, and he doesn't have many options if he wants to impress Putin. You can see that Prigozhin and other so-called patriots and opinion leaders are already criticizing him by reading their public statements. The rumors that he's betraying the country have already begun. These are grave allegations, and unless Putin takes action, he will likely start repressing his former allies. That's a tough call, for sure. It's absurd that this choice presents more difficulty than the invasion of Ukraine did. And he hasn't settled on this yet. As we get closer to the presidential elections, however, I think he will feel more pressure to take action, and I expect to see repressions against his former allies. He doesn't look good to me because he's well aware of the fact that his clans are geographically dispersed, making it challenging to find a single individual willing to serve them all. And also, because he is gravely concerned for his own safety. He worries about being overthrown and losing control. The lack of a son who could take over the family business must be his biggest disappointment now. I wrote a piece 5 years ago about his bodyguards and how many of them were soon hired by various government agencies, most notably the Secret Service. Moreover, I questioned one of Putin's security officers, why is Putin doing that? And the answer was shockingly straightforward, because he trusts these people. 20 years of these people standing with guns to his back and they didn't kill him, right? How can he be sure that his chosen successor won't betray him the day after he becomes president? Finding a successor is a huge gamble. Because of this, I think Putin will run for re-election as president despite his fears.